Well, this evening's class for core yoga, just going to use a block. I'm going to start straight away in a seated position. A little bit of a chilled out, relaxed beginning. It's going to bring the heels in towards the groin. You can cross the ankles if you have to. But if you're able to get the shins down on the floor, gives you a much stronger base to allow yourself to line your pelvis from. So the whole idea of getting a straighter back and sort of relaxing the back muscles becomes easier if you can get your legs lower. If you're sort of progressing that way, you could always use a couple of bricks or cushions underneath the shins just to sort of support a little bit, take some of the strain out of the groin. I'm going to sit nice and high, and I'm going to do a little bit of alternate nostril breathing. So I'm actually going to use the left hand onto that right elbow so I can bring it in towards the body. Bring the index finger, middle finger onto the forehead, and then just close off the right nostril with the base of my thumb over the nostril. I'm going to take a few breaths in with my eyes closed through the left side, in and out. I'm going to take the next breath in through the left. Very gently close the left nostril with the ring finger and open the thumb to exhale out through the right. Take the breath in through the right. Close off with the thumb again. Open to the left. Allow yourself to exhale. Inhale through the left. Close. Open the right. Exhale. Inhale right. Close. And open to the left. So allowing yourself to just continue to breathe through in that gentle way. Slowing the breath down. Calming the body. Letting the mind focus on the fact that we're about to undertake a fairly strong yoga class. Again, whilst you continue to breathe in and out, the purpose of holding that elbow is just to keep the shoulder relaxed. A lot of people are able to do this without holding on, but if you're a bit tight in the shoulders, it really does provide a much better platform to breathe from. Last exhale to the right. And with the hands can come back down onto the thighs. I'm going to start to work on a little bit of flexion and extension and lateral movement through the lower spine. So let's let ourselves lean out to the left. Draw forwards. Stir yourself around over to the right side, leaning back a little bit. So moving into the spine, getting a little bit of tucking under and then releasing through the tailbone. And then the shoulders join in a little bit as well. Roll round. So it doesn't have to be big circles, as long as it feels comfortable in your spine. We all have sort of varying degrees of mobility and range of motion. So work is what you have. Remember to go the opposite way for a few rounds as well. Just notice if that feels different or complicated. Maybe it's just the conditioning of understanding how to move the body, or maybe it's a little bit of tightness associated with some of the muscles we're using. So just figuring out how it feels in that lower back, especially if you've been sitting all day. We'll come back into the center and allow ourselves to just bring the hands down to the floor directly underneath the shoulders. So we're putting some weight through the wrists. And I turn the fingers outwards, thumbs pointing forwards. I'm going to let myself rock a little bit from side to side so that I can increase the stretch through the wrists. Trying to keep the knuckle joints of the hands on the ground so you get a big stretch through the tendons in the palm. And then we'll take that a little bit further by turning the fingers towards us, thumbs outwards. And walking the hands as far forward as we can comfortably, keeping the heel of the hand flat to the floor. A more static sitting position now, keeping the belly drawn in a little bit to help take some of the weight out of the wrists. A feeling of electricity perhaps, shooting through the forearms, especially if you've not stretched your arms in this way for a long time. Try to keep the shoulders relaxed, keep them out of the conversation. And then we're going to draw the tummy muscles in and let ourselves lift up so we can release gently out. We'll just take out the fingers a little bit and then take the hands out to the side. We're going to take a side bend, drawing the right arm up and allow ourselves to bend into the left elbow as we draw the arm over. We'll come back up again. We're going to try and keep the knees as low as we can. So allow yourself to consider that in the stretch. This is how deep you go. We're trying to keep the chest pointing forward. We'll come back up again and take the inhale to the opposite side. So some fairly deep stretches into that lower back, down the sides of the ribs. And we'll come back up. Now, when I come into hero's pose, as it's known, I'm going to take the flat block and put that right down to where the feet are, portrait style, center of the mat. Bring the knees together and allow myself to ease down onto the sitting bones. So on the heels, either side of the hip, sitting tall. And interlace the fingers and just roll the forearms against each other. So starting to get some nice gentle wrist rolls. And then shaking that out. I'm going to take the left hand to the outside of the right, draw the left arm around and see if, draw the right hand around, get there one day, and see if you can get the right hand onto that left thigh. You see why it gets complicated. I'm looking a little over that rear shoulder. And then we'll release. We'll take the right to the left, take the left around the back towards the right. And looking over that rear shoulder. Just easing the shoulder towards the center line of the mat. And then coming back to the center again. We'll just float the arms out wide. Draw the left arm across, right arm over the top. And bend at the elbows into eagle arms. Just keep the elbows out in front of the shoulders. And relaxing down away from the ears a little bit. And release the arms out. And cross them over the opposite way. And releasing the hands down. Fingertips on the floor, just allow yourself to lean forwards. We'll move the block out to the front and slightly to the side and bring ourselves up onto all fours. And it's correct one leg at a time back, just for a few seconds, to let the blood flow back into the knee joint. They start to feel a little bit like you belong to you. We'll tuck the toes on the left foot underneath and lengthen that out. I'm going to press down a little through the right shin and allow the right hand to come out. Slowly lifting the left foot off the ground. We're going to bend the knee, keeping the knee the height of the hip. Looking towards your fingers on the right hand, you're going to turn your body open. Find your toes back there out of the corner of your eye and then press the chin away and open the chest as much as you can to that long side of the mat. Pressing down through the bottom hand, stabilize, keeping the shoulder nice and open away from you. And I'm going to release everything out. And bring it down to the floor. Cross over to the opposite side. So slide the right leg back, press into the shin. Allow the leg to lift as we bend the knee. We'll take the left hand out, in towards the fingers. Eyeballing your foot behind you. Pressing away, letting the chest open. Hips stay square to the ground. And over the center line. And then release everything back down to the ground again. Nice and easy. We'll take the knees wide as we can. Toes together. Sit down onto the heels. We'll take those hands forwards into child's pose. We'll just spend a little time here. Head on the ground, elbows off of the floor. Hands a little wider than the shoulders. Allow yourself to come up onto fingertips. You just have to roll your shoulders together in towards the spine. Kind of flare the armpits out to the side a little bit. And we'll lift the head, put the hands to the floor. Right on the front edge of the mat, we'll tuck the toes underneath. Bring the shoulders over the wrist and lift the knees gently away from the ground into down dog. We're just walking out very lightly. Seeing how that feels. Just in the back of the top. You've been doing a lot of walking recently. They might be a little tight, especially if you've been wearing walking boots. Feet sometimes need a little bit of time to find their natural flexibility again. So just padding them out slowly can be useful. Leaving yourself a gap between the heels and the floor, so there's some space to move into if it becomes available. Okay, we're going to allow ourselves to come into a plank on the inhale, and we'll just lower the knees to the floor where they come. We'll untuck the toes and sit back onto the heels. On the exhale, take a breath at the bottom, and then rounded spine as you press into the shins, lifting back up. Inhale, draw the chest forward as if you were doing cat-cow. Tuck the toes underneath. Allow yourself to lift your knees away from the ground again into your down dog. Come forwards into your plank. Let the knees come to the floor. Untuck the toes as you sit back. Exhale out. Take a breath. Press into the shins, drawing the belly in round the spine on the exhale. Inhale forwards into that cat-cow shape. Neutral spine, tuck the toes underneath. Lift yourself into your down dog. We'll come forwards again. Through plank, knees to the floor. Untucking the toes, we sit back onto those heels. Exhale. Take a breath in. Use the exhale around. In the spine stretch. Inhale forward. Into neutral, tuck the toes under. We're back into down dog. I'm going to scissor the right leg to the sky, pointing the toes. And then bring the foot down to the floor and we'll scissor to the opposite side. Just be conscious so we're not letting the hips twist out too much. So if you find one elbow is buckling underneath, that's probably caused by your body not being so square as it could be. We'll take the left foot to the sky again on the inhale. Bring it down. We'll take one more to the right. One more to the left. And bring that down. This time we're going to draw the right knee towards the chest. Take the knee out to the side. Hook it up and around into a big circle. Staying in the down dog shape. We'll bring the right knee into the chest again. We'll float it out to the side. Again, trying to keep the shoulders square. We're coming for a third time. Look it around. Bring the foot to the floor. Draw the left leg in. Put that out to the side and up. Big circles. Knee into the chest, heel into the butt. Going around to number 2. And number 3. Easing the foot down to the floor. Take a little breath in there. Allow yourself to bring the knees to the floor nice and wide. Just sit gently back into that child's pose. We'll lift up about halfway. Just walking the hands in. And then we're going to take it into a twist. So I'm going to take the left hand out towards the right side. Drop the shoulder in here. And allow the top hand, which would be your right, to fold over your back. And see if you can bring the fingers towards the thigh. That will the side. And we'll bring the hand back up. Down to the floor. We're going to lift up halfway again. Take a breath in. We'll send the right hand out to the left. 90 degrees to the body, just easing the shoulder area down. Once you've landed safely, roll that left hand up and around. Bring the fingers over towards the right thigh. Draw the shoulder back. And breathe. And sweep the arm to the sky again, bring it to the floor. Roll this slowly back up. Allow ourselves to come up onto all fours. Hands underneath the shoulders. We're going to take the right hand out to the side and inhale up. Spread that underneath and drop the shoulder in here to the floor. We'll take a breath at the bottom. Press into the ground, lift onto all fours. Loop out to the opposite side. Left arm lifts, chest opens, fold our way down under. Take a breath, press away from the floor, and then we're going to come down onto our elbows. Slide the legs back and bring the hips to the ground. And you want to bring your arms into a sphinx-like position. So Elbows are underneath the shoulders. Pressing the forearms into the floor a little bit. And take a little breath from there as you widen the shoulders out, drawing the belly in. See if you can bend your right knee. And as you exhale, try and lift that right knee away from the floor. And bring that down and untangle the leg. Hold on the hamstrings. We'll take the opposite side. Draw the belly in. Press the sole of the foot to the sky. And ease that down. You take a little breath of fresh air. Bend the right knee. Belly in, press down through the forearms, nice wide shoulders, to lift the knee and the thigh away from the ground. So if you're probably noticing, you're pressing down through your two arms and your one leg that's on the ground. Bring that down, untangle that. Opposite leg, knee bends, curl. Exhale, lift slow. It's very strong in the back. You need to draw the belly in before you start the lift. Keep your shoulders nice and broad. And then back down to the floor. Bring the hands down towards the bottom of the ribs, flat on the ground. Looking the toes under, draw the shoulders back. We'll press into the ground, take the knees wide again. Allow ourselves to sit back into that child's pose slowly. And then this time I'm going to take the hands over towards the left side of the mat, about shoulder distance apart. So we're resting the body into the thigh on that left side. Last breath in. As we inhale, we'll lift the head and walk it around to the opposite side. Settle in to that side bend. Nice deep breath down the side of the body, filling the diaphragm. Elbows off the ground, palms flat to the floor. And we'll lift the head as we inhale and bring ourselves back to the center. We'll come back up onto all fours, and bring the elbows to the ground. Bring the legs away, flat to the ground again. We're going to take the arms out in front. They're going to be about shoulder distance apart, into the ground, and then turn the palms in, so little fingers on the ground. Now, rolling the heels out very slightly, and making sure your feet are at least as wide as your hips or shoulders. You're going to lift your chest a little from the floor, so the hands come back at least an inch towards you. Now on the exhale, I'm going to lift the right arm and left thigh away from the floor. Inhale, we'll bring them back down. I'll cross over to the opposite side. You want to try and keep the leg as straight as you can and stretch out through the fingers. We'll just cross over again, leading with the right arm, left leg, opposite side. And crossing over. Just a few more. and ease our way down. We'll bring the hands down to the bottom of the ribs, elbows and shoulders back. Heel ourselves away from the floor onto all fours. Come into down dog. Settle. Take the breath into plank, the half plank, up dog. Roll it back into our down dog. Come forwards into plank, breath in. Push forwards again, exhale. Half plank to up dog. Back into our down dog, running over the toes or stepping the feet. Taking the breath into plank again, hips high. Exhale forwards. Inhale it up. Roll it back into down dog. Now we're going to allow ourselves to walk the hands towards the toes. So first standing forward then. Making sure the feet are parallel. Use the hands in. Taking as much bend in the knees as you need. Trying to keep the ribs and thighs as close together as possible. One more breath. Now on the inhale, bring the hands onto the shins and lift up halfway. Tailbone presses one way, crown of the head the opposite. Relax the shoulders. Fold as you exhale, drawing the belly in. Hands on the shins, lift up. And exhale down. Now lifting up. And folding down. We'll bring the hands onto the hips. Soft knees, let ourselves lift up. Bring the arms out nice and wide and bring the hands above your head, just lightly interlace. So hands are just a few inches above. We're actually going to make like a halo shape above your head, just waving their hands around into a nice circle. The elbows out to the sides. So just working into those shoulders in a different way. Hopefully this feels sort of more relaxing than half plank and up dogs in the shoulders. So you can go the opposite way as well. Noticing whether the shoulders are running smooth or if they're a bit clunky, in which case a little bit more shoulder work probably during the week could be useful. Straight out. Ease the hands down by the side of the body and let us step towards the front of the mat. Feet about hip distance apart. Bring the hands in towards the heart as we take the breath in. And on the exhale, we hinge at the hips. Allow ourselves to come down to the ground. We're going to take a little breath and send the left foot to the back of the mat. Ease the knees down to the floor. We'll sweep the hands alongside the body, resting on top of that front side. And as you exhale, lengthen the arms out. Press into the back shin, draw the tummy muscles in. You're going to take your arms out wide. Now you're going to see if you can turn the palms towards the back of the mat. Bring the hands together towards your shoulder blades. Try to turn the palms in. Elbows back and lift the chest towards the sky a little bit. Release the hands out. We'll float them up towards the sky. Bring the hands to the floor. Tuck the toe on the back leg. Press out through the heel to lift the knee. We'll bring the hands alongside the body. Draw the arms forwards and allow ourselves to lift up. Now on the exhale, we're going to bring the hands down by the side of the body and lower the knee almost to the ground. Just a fraction off, we lift up again. And bring the palms together above the head. Then go out to the side and down. Little bop in the knee. Lifting up. And down. And then up. Down. And a final lift up. We'll bring the hands down as we bring the knee to the floor and untuck the toes. Float the arms out again wide. We'll bring the hands in towards the heart, rotating towards the right side as we breathe in, and fold gently over that front thigh. Allow yourself to press the chest towards the sky. Now we'll release the hands to the floor. Put the toe on the back foot and send ourselves back into that down dog. Now you're going to draw the left foot to the outside of the left hand. Ease the back knee down to the floor. Now untuck the toes, spin the front foot out 45 degrees-ish, not exact science. Let the knee hang out to the side, so you're feeling already the groins opening and the hips dropping. We'll take the left hand forwards into a twist. We'll look towards the back of the mat. Draw the heel in, see if we can find that foot and squeeze the heel in towards the butt. So looking to get the heel towards the sitting bone. You're looking over that rear shoulder, dropping the hips. Front knee rocking out a little bit to the side. And then we'll untangle and bring everything back. We'll step back into our down dog. And draw the right knee through the center into a lunge. Push off the toes of the back foot into a forward bend. Hands onto the hips, soft knees and flat back to lift. Let's take the arms wide, breath in, hands through the heart. And we'll exhale down to the floor. And take the right foot to the back of the mat. Dropping the back knee down to the floor and tucking the toes. Hands alongside the body, we'll lift up. Let the arms come out wide. We're going to turn the palms towards the back of the mat, thumbs down. Hands come in again, palms together. Draw those elbows back. Lift the chest a little towards the sky. Or release the hands, take them high again, down to the floor. Let's step ourselves back into our down dog. And draw the right knee in and through. Hands alongside the body again, come up into the lift. The hands go out wide. The knee comes almost to the floor. We'll lift up. Palms touch. We're coming down. And back up. For 3. And back. And 4. And 5. Bring the hands down to the ground. Step back into our down dog. And we'll draw the left knee through. Move the back knee down to the floor. Untuck the toes with the hands alongside the body. Lifting up. Arms go out wide. Hands come into the heart. We take the breath in. We rotate over to the left. Drop the elbow to the outside. Lift the chest high. Bring hands to the floor. So it's on the back foot. Press out through the heel. And we step into the forward fold. Hands come onto the hips. We'll let ourselves lift up. Inhale high. Hands into the heart. And exhale down. Take a little breath. But back into down dog. We'll come forwards into plank and let the knees come to the floor. And untuck the toes and just take the block and put that behind. Take a little breath from there. Come back up into down dog. Move the block slightly to the back of the mat. One of these days I'm going to remember. You can draw the left knee in towards the chest. Bring the foot through. Drop the back knee down, untucking the toes. Allow that. Actually, we need to be the other way around. So my mistake, back into down dog. Almost there. Now bring the right knee in. Bring that foot through. Use the knee down to the floor, untuck the toes. That right hand comes forwards and up into the twist. You're going to draw the heel back in a little bit towards us. Just spin the front foot out to the side a fraction. And then we can release the foot to the floor. Step back into down dog. And bring the heels onto the block. So looking for the corner edges. Walk the hands in slowly. Let ourselves squat down. So when we turn the toes out to the side edges, have a little wriggle through the hips, get those groins nice and open and low down. Now, if you happen to not need a block to take the squat, you can either move the block out of the way or just take the feet a little wider. I'm actually just going to rest the arms on top of the knees. You can make a little perch for your chin. And we're real rest in here. Almost there. We can let the hands come back so we can release the feet out in front. I'm going to shift towards the front of the mat a little bit more. Just allow those legs to untangle themselves. Scooping the bottom towards the front of the mat. I'm going to allow myself to slowly roll the spine down to the floor. I'm going to see if I can bring that block underneath the back of the head. We've got enough room now. Walking the feet in. We'll take your arms out wide, feet together, close into the bottom on the center line. Just get a nice little wriggle through the spine, get it long. I'm going to take the left leg up to the sky and cross that over. I'm going to bend the knee and see if I can hook that foot underneath the right calf. So bringing the shins more towards 90 degrees and the knees over the top of the hips. Spine drawn down towards the floor. Going to bring the left arm over the chest and the right arm over the top. Bend at the elbows, bring the hands together. And again, I want the elbows to be sort of directly over the shoulders, but shoulders away from the ears. Try to press the shoulders, the mid-back and lower back into the ground. Now, if you're not able to hook your foot around, if your hips haven't opened up enough for that to happen this evening, That's okay. You can just squeeze the thighs together, the legs crossed as best you can. I find it easier on this side. The opposite side sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. Depends on how much sort of residual tightness I'm holding onto the hips from the rest of the week. Almost there, keeping the belly drawn in and down so those abdominal muscles are very much activated. And we'll release the arms and the legs out, untangling, giving the legs a little shake and bring the feet back down to the floor. Couple of breaths here. Using the feet together, close in towards your butt. I'll take the right leg up and cross it over. Let's see if we can hook that foot around. And bring the right arm over, left arm over the top, under the elbows. Getting lifted, belly drawn in. And then we can untangle everything, give it a little stretch out. We'll take the feet towards the sky, pointing the toes to the ceiling directly above the hips. The spine drawn into the floor. We'll squeeze the thighs together a little bit. Hands are out wide, in line with the chest. Just that light little squeeze of the thighs together. The legs start to shake and tremble a little bit. And keep those tummy muscles really drawn in tight, down towards the floor. Still feeling the muscles around the front of the thighs activated. Almost there with the last couple of seconds, and then we can ease the feet carefully down to the floor. As they arrive, allow the feet to walk out toward the edges of the mat, keeping the knees together. And then we're going to roll over to the left with the legs. Feet stay where they are on the mat, but just rolling onto their side edge. So dropping that left thigh all the way to the floor, and a very light press into the right thigh downwards. Bring the knees back up slowly on an exhale. Realign if necessary. And then take the legs to the opposite side. Once they're down on the floor, start to press the bottom thigh down. Get that comfortable and then apply a little pressure into the top thigh. Remember, ideally the feet have just rolled onto their side edges and stay wide apart. Release the legs back up. And we can realign a little wriggle through the spine. And we'll bring the knees towards us. The first thing we do is cross the ankles over. Draw the knees in towards the body. Wrap the arms around shins to come into a nice tight ball. Chin in towards the chest. A little bit of a rock on the spine. We go from very flat to nicely rounded. And then we're going to ease the feet down to the floor, close to the bottom again. Now we're going to draw the knees towards us, taking them wide, and toes together, just touching big toes. We're going to take the hands onto the inside of the shins and walk down towards the ankles. Keeping the spine flat, See if you can reach around the little toe of one foot and allow the sole of that foot to lift towards the sky directly above your knee. Carefully reach the little toe side of the opposite and come into happy baby. And you actually want to try and draw the tailbone towards the ground a little bit, so moving away from your body out towards the front end of the mat. Slowly and carefully try and take the fingers around, so you can take hold of the big toe with your index finger, middle finger. Your time. Get in a nice hook in. Again, the spine very flat to the floor. I'm going to start to press the heels out to the side and allow the backs of the legs to open out slowly. So it probably will take a little bit of time to untangle themselves. Gradually the groins open up. We can try and keep the tailbone on the floor, the back of the legs open a little more. Now you'll notice as you breathe in that one side of your lungs fill a little quicker than the other, and you get a bit of a rock from side to side going on. If that happens, just try and slow the breath down a little bit. Pressing out through the heels, those legs, getting as close to being straight as they can be. And then from here, we'll slowly gather the feet towards the sky. So still stay in hold of the toes with the legs as straight as they can, and bring them directly above the chest. Now we're going to slowly release the right foot to the floor as close to your bottom as you can, still holding on to that left foot. You're going to use your toes to walk your right heel out and lengthen the leg out. See if you can get the calf and the heel on the ground. And allow very gently the right hand out to the side in line with the chest. Still pressing out through the heel and this left foot. And then we'll see if we can take the foot very carefully out to the side. The groins opening out. We try and keep the shoulders flat to the floor. We want to come down slow so we don't just sort of rock onto our side edge. We'll take a little breath. I'm going to have to bring the foot back up because I've just burnt my little toe on the radiator. I'm going to draw the right foot back in. Allow myself to reach with the opposite hand to find the big toe joint. Slowly press both feet towards the sky, straight legs, spine on the ground, and then release now carefully the left foot to the floor, goes to your bottom. Left hand goes out to the side. Use your toes to wiggle your left foot forwards and slide out along the ground. And begin to take the leg, this time out towards the right side. Pressing out through both heels at the same time. Both feet are flexed. We use the arm to draw ourselves back up. And we'll bring the left foot in and the right foot to the floor as we release the fingers. Whew, let the hands back down by the side. That was pretty intense. Take a little rest from there and allow ourselves to roll onto our right side. Use the hands to press into the floor. away from the ground back up. Now we're going to see if we can bring the heels in towards the groins without actually crossing the legs over. And if you find it easier, you might want to bring that flat block underneath the bottom again. We'll take the hands forwards, knees out plenty and wide, long spine. We're simply going to hinge from the hips and allow ourselves to walk forwards. With the hands, we're going to see if we can bring the elbows to the ground and try and keep the head in line with the spine. So the easiest way to detect that is the distance between your chin and the chest stays constant as you come into the pose. Allow yourself to take the hands forwards if you wish. You can press the hands into the floor a little bit as you lower down. Draw the belly in and send the tailbone back. Walk hands back in. Untangle the legs. We'll cross them over the opposite way. Take a moment. Allow the hips to understand where they are. Get onto those sitting bones. And then we'll allow ourselves to slowly reach forwards. Again, aiming to get somewhere close to the elbows on the ground and further if you wish. If you are a bit tight in the hips or if you're crossing your ankles, the likelihood is you're going to be a lot higher. Now, as long as you can feel the stretch through the groins and the outside edges of the hip, and it doesn't feel like too much work in the lower back, then everything's good. And you can take the hands out wide in front if you wish. Lower yourself down a little more. Tailbone pressing back, belly drawn in. And put ourselves lift back up. Untangle the legs. Now I'm going to use the blocks for Shavasana behind the back of the head. And it's completely optional. It just makes it easier for me to glance up on the seated block. So roll the spine down. If you are using a block, it's away from the neck and the shoulders, just underneath the head. You're going to slide those heels out very gently to the corner edges. Those legs might still be reeling from that forward bend, seated position. You're going to wriggle out through the toes, kind of flip-flop the feet around, get a little bit of wriggle through the hips and into the shoulders. And then eventually, allow yourself to close your eyes and settle into your breath. Shavasana, just letting ourselves sink or float on top of this mat. And trying to let every single muscle fiber in your body relax. Slowly start to stretch those fingers and toes. Begin to breathe a little deeper. Allow the wrists and the ankles to move around gently. Taking a longer breath in when you feel prepared, allow yourself to stretch in any direction that feels good to you. Just following your instincts and see what your body needs, as well as your mind. And when you feel ready, composed, we'll slide the heels along the ground towards us if they're not already. And we'll let the knees come in towards the body for the gentlest and the softest of hugs. Easy rock from side to side on the spine. Very gentle, not affecting the breath. And we're going to use that little bit of momentum to roll completely onto the right side. Just mindful of any of our props that might be lying around. And we can use the hands to press into the floor on that side of the mat and move as gently from the ground as we can back to sitting. And as the great Eric Morecambe said once, all the right notes, not necessarily in the right order. Bring your hands towards your heart as you close your eyes, taking a longer breath in. And as you begin to exhale, let the chin drop. And draw the belly to the spine, a simple bow can form. Feeling the practice for the evening. As the breath comes back into the body, let it build your spine for you. The head lifts and the eyes open. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me this evening. Hope you enjoy it. See you again on the mat soon.